Hi again, everyone. I'm going to talk about some of the things in our chart that are very useful, but that you may not necessarily know about. So hopefully you're going to learn a thing or two, or not. We'll see. So we're done with the slides now. Okay, so I have a version of our chart running here. This is 1x, not exactly the latest because we made a few check-ins yesterday, but it's fairly recent, and I'm going to start from that and add a few things. The first thing I'm going to add is a theme, and here I'm sure that nobody is going to learn anything here. I just want to make a remark that nowadays Bootstrap may be one of the best starting themes for you. That's what I've seen most of my customers using recently, because it's easy to make it progressive and so on. But one thing that I would like to stress out about the Bootstrap theme is that you should not consider it like your end result, but your starting point. Because otherwise, all of the websites in the world are going to look like this. And you know, it really is a starting point. It's a relatively clean starting point. Okay, so I'm just going to keep that theme. It just makes me feel a little better than the theme machine, which is getting quite ancient. The first thing I want to do is look at what we already have in the box, but that you may not necessarily have used or discovered yet. The first thing I want to enable is alias UI. You all know AutoRoute, but you may not necessarily know that you can actually manage your aliases. And here you can see a few that already exist. The one that you already have when you start the site is the home page. So the home page has the empty alias, and it points to a route. So aliases are maps from URLs to routes. And the role of AutoRoute is to use patterns to create those aliases. But in the end, you always end up with a collection of aliases. And those aliases you can edit, modify, etc. And you can put any route you want behind that. So that's a very useful thing to know. It's that you can come up with your own aliases. So I'm just going to show a lot of very short demos. So don't look for a storyline or anything like that. There is no progression in this presentation. It's just a collection of random little things. The second thing that I want to enable is one of the most commonly asked questions, because that's a feature that was previously enabled by default and we removed it. We disabled it by default, and lots of people who are looking at old tutorials wonder where this feature went, and that's a couple of features actually: the content control wrapper and the widget control wrapper. And what these are doing is that they are actually features that I don't like much because they mess up with the layout, depending on the theme. But end users tend to like that a lot because they can go to their website and they can click edit on any of those things and get to the editor directly from here. So short of having inline editing, this is the shortest way from the front end to the admin. Another thing that is very, very useful to get contents back and forth between different instances of our chart is the import-export module. So when you do import-export, you can export all of your contents, everything that is expressed as content items, and you can also export the metadata. And when you export the metadata, you're basically exporting the schema So for example, if you want to, if you made modifications to the page content type and you want to move that to another server, you just click page, metadata, export, and you get an XML file. That XML file is a recipe. So you can actually open that file in a text editor, modify it, and move it to the target server. And on the other end, to import a recipe, you just go to the import tab, choose the file that is on your hard drive, and click import. Very simple. Who didn't know about that? Okay, well. And this is being recorded, so we'll have more people watching this on YouTube or wherever it goes. Oh, I want to talk about this one briefly. It's in there, somewhere, there. See this one? Who knows about this one? Who uses this one? Stop doing that, please. This feature is deprecated. You should not use it. There is no good reason to use it nowadays. It was one of those features that were implemented. I talked about it yesterday, briefly. That were implemented as kind of a placeholder for a specific scenario, which was to construct lists of content items. But it was replaced by a few other things. Projection, mainly, and taxonomies. So with a combination of projections and taxonomies, you should be covered and have a model that is much richer than anything you could do with lists. And there is another feature that was created in coordination with lists. And we got a question recently on the forums about that. It's custom properties. Do any of you wonder what custom properties are? I mean, it's kind of a mystery feature. It's there, and not many people remember what it was for. So it was actually a part that had 3 custom properties, and those 3 custom properties were just, text properties that you could use. And then the list feature had a hard-coded way to sort on those custom properties. It was horrible and completely anti-orchard in spirit. So don't use that, please. We've talked about localization, so I don't need to look at that. Projections. Does anybody not know about projections? Really? Oh, come on. Okay, projections. So projections are actually enabled by default. So it's hard to miss, actually. Shame on you.
We don't use the admin UI. We do everything from code.
Oh, okay. So that's a good excuse. You're excused. So queries, in projections you build queries that are abstract expressions of a query over content items. So you can apply filters. So for example, I can select on a few things, content types for example, and say I want only pages out of that. And then I can sort and apply a layout. And then I can create a projection. And a projection is a content item that uses those abstract queries to present the results to the end user. So this is tremendously useful, and especially when you've realized how extensible it is. And on the last Harvest, I made a talk on just that feature that I encourage you, if you're interested, if you need to know more about projections, I invite you to check out that talk, where I explain how to extend projections and create your own layout, your own filters, and so on. So it's a very, very rich feature. Taxonomy is another of those extremely rich features that you could at first mistake for a fancy implementation of tagging, but it's actually a lot richer than that. And the thing you need to realize about taxonomies is that when you create a taxonomy, which I will do, category, that's not very original, but it's kind of your canonical taxonomy. Let's say I'll add a term called important. So when you create a taxonomy, like a category taxonomy, when you go to content definition, you get a content type that is being created automatically for you. And this is extremely important to understand because you can actually go and edit that content type. And for example, let's add a part. Let's add the body part to this term. Okay, so I edit the body part, and now when I go back to taxonomies and edit my terms, let's say edit important, now I have a body part. So you can see the potential in that. I can have landing pages for my categories now that have a body, that have an explanation. And of course, body part is just an example. You can add any part you want, and that will work. So taxonomies become actual content types that you can extend and use like any other content type. So it's a very, very powerful mechanism. That goes, I hope you'll agree, way beyond the idea of a tag. You've seen workflows this morning, so I'm not going to show that. Among the built-in features, another one that is extremely useful but that is not enabled by default is remote blog publishing. So if you enable that, that will enable you to not use the online HTML editor. This feature will only enable you to do that for blog posts, so you'll be able to create blog posts inside of LiveWriter, which is a lot friendlier than any online editor could be. How many people blog using LiveWriter? Yeah. A few. How many people in the room blog without LiveWriter? Is it because you don't like LiveWriter? Or because you prefer the online editor? Or, yeah. Yeah, well, LiveWriter is really a lot more convenient. And there is actually an extension on the gallery that enables you to edit pages from LiveWriter, which is also interesting. And LiveWriter doesn't just enable you to to create blog posts. It also enables you to look at existing blog posts and modify them. So it's really almost another management tool for your blog. If you blog, you should definitely check it out. Of course, one of the most useful, non-enabled by default features is shape tracing. So if you enable shape tracing, you get that little Firebug-like UI on the bottom of the screen that you can expand using that little icon here, and then you get access to all the shapes on your page that just appear in this tree here, and you can explore all of that, and for each of those you can look at the possible alternates, and you can even create those alternates from here. You can also look at the model, which is the object that you can use in your alternates, and you can drill into the object model. Let's see, well, not the best example, but let's look at tags, for example. Yeah, I'll pick another one. Let's look at, oh, I'm on body. So yeah, I look at body part. Let's say that you want to display the text for the body part. You can copy paste this here into your template, and that will display that part of the model. It also shows you placement, the current placement that was used to place that shape. It shows you the template that was used and the HTML that it rendered. So it's really a very useful way to drill into your rendering, understand what's going on, and modify the rendering through alternates. Okay. But don't forget to turn it off, because it makes your pages really a lot heavier. And if you are used to the other browser tools that you access through F12 usually, where you explore the DOM, you're going to be majorly annoyed if your DOM is polluted by all the shape tracing. I was going to say junk, but well, yeah, junk. So let's disable that. I wish there was actually a super quick way to refresh a page with shape tracing, you know, without having to go through the admin and enabling it and then having to go back and disabling it. Maybe that's an opportunity for a nice module that would implement that, or a contribution. Command line. How many of you are using the command line to generate modules? Yeah, so it's a very widely used feature. There are extensions to the command line because as pretty much everything in our chart, this is extensible. You can create your own commands. How many of you have created your own commands? Very nice, very nice. Yeah, so definitely check out the command line. It's very easy to activate. When you go to your source code, you can shift right-click on the orchard.web directory, and where is my open? And you select Open Command Window here, and this will open the command line directly in that directory. And then you do bin orchard, and this launches the command line. And now, from now on, you can do help commands and get the list of commands. I'm not going to elaborate too much over that. And the range of built-in commands, it really depends on what features you have enabled, because all the commands come from modules. So whatever modules you have may expose some commands, and just explore them. Do help commands and get the list and look at that, explore it, and experiment. Multi-tenancy is not really a hidden feature, but if you have to host multiple websites on a single instance to lower your hosting costs, one more thing to check out. I'm not going to show it, but it's one thing that you need to know about. One thing that I've mentioned at least twice so far is Markdown. Let's enable that. So Markdown is actually a flavor of text. So if you go to content definitions, you can create a new type. Let's call it Markdown page. And I'm going to add body part, auto route, and title. That will be enough for now. Did I hit save? No. Okay, so now I have my Markdown page, but I'm not quite done yet. I still need to configure the body and replace this with Markdown. Another trick that some people don't know about is that if you actually want your body part to be used as a regular text box, you can actually put text in there, and you'll get rid of TinyMC and basically have a text box where you can type raw HTML. Some people like that, but it's a little too extreme for me, so I'm just going to do Markdown here. I save. And now when I create a Markdown page, instead of having TinyMC, I have the Markdown editor. Markdown. And as you can see, I have a preview on the right, and that's showing me how it's going to look like. So let's call this Markdown. So now I can preview that, and yeah, it's Markdown. Yay! And it's built in, and you can use the Markdown flavor pretty much anywhere you have a rich text editor by default. You can also use it with a text field, for example, if the feature is enabled. That's another thing actually that surprisingly few people actually know about. It's that the text field is much richer than just a text box. You can configure it to do rich text, which is a great way to have more than one rich text zone in a given content item. And you can configure it for Markdown, for large text box, and so on. There are a few possible ways to set it up. Next, we have content picker. So I'll just edit my existing, the content type that I just created, the Markdown page, and I will add a content picker field. So let's call it related items. And here, let's choose content picker field. Okay. So there are several ways you can establish relationships between content items in our chart through code. And this is how you do it without code. Let's configure that so that we allow for multiple content items. And this way, I can have, for a given Markdown page, that I can edit here. Now I have here a content picker. So I click on Add, and now I can select. So now I have another page that is related to this one. I'll just make it relate to itself. And once you've done that, you can even change the order in which they appear. Publish. And on the front end, it will appear as links. Markdown. No, not page. Okay, so I have links to my related items. So if you override a few templates, you can actually make that look good, and it's a very useful feature, very cheap to implement. Next we have anti-spam. Let's enable comments on pages, or on my Markdown pages. So I edit that content type again, and I will add the comments part. So this way, I'm opening my I'm opening my website to spammers, basically. So this is spam. And my comment appears right away. So this is not good. There are a few things you can do, fortunately, out of the box. First, you can turn on moderation of comments. That's one way to deal with it, but basically, instead of exposing your users to spam, you are exposing yourself to spam. So they've already won once you've done that. You actually want to stop the spam at the source. So for that, you still have a number of other ways to deal with it. Oh, and another disadvantage of moderation is that the comments won't appear right away. They will only appear when you have time to moderate them, which may be who knows when. So if you look for spam, you will see a few things. You can use Akismet. You can use typepad. But I will just enable the anti-spam service here. They all require a key, and they all kind of work. But I think the one that works the best by far is CAPTCHA. So I will show you how to enable CAPTCHAs on comments. So you edit the comment content type, and you add the reCAPTCHA part. And that's really all there is to it in 1.7. Now, when I go back to my... Oh, yeah. Sure. Oops. Yeah. So I do have a key ready somewhere. Okay, I need to... So I generated a pair of keys for reCAPTCHA, just for this demo. So don't even try to reuse those keys, because they will stop being valid after this talk. Okay. And now, when I go to my Markdown page, now I have a CAPTCHA here, and if I try to send some spam, 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 spam. So the command didn't go through, and when I go to the dashboard and look at comments, it's not there. I only have this command that I put there earlier. So now I may have annoyed my users a little bit, but now the comment appears right away, which is nice to my users, and the spam has been filtered out. And I've talked about a few features that are useful but that are disabled by default. There is one feature that is enabled by default, and that is a major annoyance. And it's page layer hinting. That thing is what is displaying that annoying little message every time you create a page, telling you that you know, it's kind of, we should have put Clippy on that thing because it's that annoying. It's nagging you every time. Would you like to create a layer for this page? Which you shouldn't do, of course, because if you start doing that, you'll end up with hundreds of layers in your site, which is not a very good idea. So I invite you all to ritually disable that feature and get rid of it. I wish we could actually kill it with fire. Yeah, I was going to talk about navigation and how it is extensible. You can create your own menu items that can generate complete substructures in your navigation, which is a very interesting feature. But this is something that all of you probably know about, but hopefully some people looking at this later might actually discover something. So let's add a content menu item for my Markdown page, and I will browse for that page. There you go, save. That you can do that. This is something that is not necessarily completely discoverable, so just in case, if you don't know that, that's useful. And what this is doing is that now in my navigation, I have a hierarchical structure here. So now I don't have to type the URL every time. I've shown the content picker field. There is another field that I find extremely useful, and that is the enumeration field. What should I call it? Very imaginative. Let's choose enumeration field, and now we can configure it this way and put some options here. So you put one option per line. So you can do foo, bar, baz. And that's it really. You can choose how they will appear. Let's say radio button list, for example. You save that. And now when I edit the Markdown page, I have a choice of those enumerations. This is really super easy to set up, and it can solve a lot of problems. And you can query on those things as well. So, so pretty much done with the built-in features that you should know about. Oh, no, maybe one last. I talked about it, but it's better if I show it. I said earlier that you can have a text field that you configure for rich text. So I created a text field, and now I can choose the default here. So you can choose a larger text box, you can choose a full text area, and you can choose Markdown because the Markdown module is enabled. And when I do that, now I have 2 Markdown zones that I can use. Oh, didn't publish. And this is my new Markdown. So very useful. And if you want to send this to a different place, you can open your placement file, and instead of using the zone name, instead of using a local zone name inside of content, you put a slash in front, and you use a global name, and you can send that like as if it were a widget. So that's one way to do it. There is actually a better way to do it. There is a module on the gallery that has been made by Sipke, and that is called contrib widgets. Oh, that's a lot. Sipke, what is it called? Isn't it? Ah, without the dot. Yes, you're right. Of course, you're right. You wrote it. So let's install that. So remember the feature that I encouraged you to disable earlier, the layer stupid thing? Well, this will actually solve the same problem, but in a much more elegant way. Okay, so now if I go to my content definitions, well, I do have a new widgets page type that appeared here, but actually what I will do is that I will edit my existing Markdown page type again. It's becoming a lot more than just a Markdown page now, and I'm going to add a new part that is going to be a widgets container. And now when I go to my content editor and edit this, now I have a new widgets section, and you may recognize this is the widget management that we had before. So let's say that I want to add another Markdown section, but I want to send it in a site first. So I click add next to a site first. I choose HTML widget. I would need to create a widget that's configured for Markdown. So let's just do it in HTML. I probably need to put a title here, some rich text. Widgets, not widgets. Is this all readable actually, or should I? And now, let's go back to the page. And, oh yeah, my navigation navigation kind of became. Yeah, and this is the one, but actually now, yeah. So it did appear in the site here. So this is a very rich alternative to having one layer per page, which is inconvenient in many ways. First, it's layers where you don't really need them, but it also means that now your content item is all over the place. You have part of your content item in the content item editor and part in the widget section. That doesn't make any sense. It's the same content item. So this way, at least, when you go to the admin, well, let's go through here. When you go to the admin, now you see all your contents related to that page in a single place, and my widget is here. And I can edit it.
You said you could do that with placement, right? The same thing, really? Instead of using a widget?
I said you can do it. Yeah. Yeah, I could. You want me to show it?
No, it's okay.
Okay. It's fairly easy to find. Yeah. All there is to it is just adding a slash in front of the zone name, and you will send it to a top-level zone. I want to talk about a couple of other modules first. Am I completely out of time? But don't I get 10 more minutes? Because, you know? I'll be fast on the remaining modules. I'll talk about them instead of necessarily installing them. If you want analytics, by far the easiest way is to install a Google Analytics module. There is a couple on the gallery. Of course, when you look at who made which, well, no, that's completely arbitrary, but yeah, I use this one. Because it has 5 stars, not because it's this guy who made it. It's a super simple module. You just copy and paste the script that Google gives you into a text box, you save, and you get the Google Analytics script included on all your pages. And that's all there is to it. Actually, if you want to embed that into your theme, yeah, why not? And just do it with the module, you can. The form module is something that is very promising as well, but you've seen that. Something that almost everybody needs. The little social network buttons. There is probably half of the modules on the gallery are actually doing that. So it's kind of difficult to make a choice between them. I think that the best one is this one. Again, like with analytics, you have a choice between using a module or actually, writing some code that you put in an HTML widget, for example. That gives you the economy of a module. But this one is extremely convenient. You just install it, enable the part and the content types where you want it, and it just works, and it generates all the right markup for you. So it's very convenient. That's my favorite to do this. Advanced sitemap is for all of you guys who really care about search engine optimization. And it has some really elaborate options. Check it out. It really enables you to take control of your sitemap and do something very rich with it. BlogML is another module by Nick that is very useful if you're doing some imports from WordPress, for example. Yeah, what is it called? Import export. Yeah, let me search for it real fast.
It's on Code.
Oh, it's not on the gallery?
No.
Okay, why not? I'll repeat that so that people can hear it. He just found out how to create packages. Rewrite rules is another module that you might want to do without as well. It's a convenience. It was written by Sébastien as well. The thing is, rewriting URLs can be done in web config. So if you have that option, it's better because it's less overhead. It's going to be handled by IIS. But if you need the convenience of doing it from the admin UI, install that. And well, another reason to use this one actually is that it uses the Apache, the standard Apache syntax for rewrite rules. If your system engineer is more familiar with that, it's a nice way to use that. Yes?
There is a tool to import Apache syntax to IIS.
Oh, I didn't know that. So another way is to, there is a tool that imports Apache rewrite rules into the web config syntax for IIS. So your advice is not to use rewrite rules? Well, as I said, there are some legitimate cases for it. In some cases, you actually don't have access to web config, so you don't have a choice. Version Manager is an old module, but it's the only one that gives you access to previous versions of your contents. So you can restore previous versions of your contents. You can undelete contents. Check it out. It's an old module, but it still works amazingly. I think it dates back from version 0.5 or maybe even 0.1. Version Manager. Quite simply. It's the only one that does that. And that's a module that is in need of an owner. If someone wants to fork that and take ownership, that would be very nice. There are some improvements that could be made on it. If you want to measure performance of your website, if you want to profile your website, which, let's be frank, you probably do, there is a module called Mini Profiler. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with 1x, so it will need to be updated, but it's by far the easiest way to profile your chart website. So Mini Profiler. It adds a little widget to the top left corner of your pages that you can deploy. You can see all the SQL requests on your website. It gives you really an chart-centric view of profiling. It's a lot easier than to attach a regular profiler and going through the analysis. And last but not least, I will show one of my modules called the tree. And this is for all the people who have complex content structures and that want to navigate those complex structures very efficiently. So once you've enabled the tree and its various features, and this is an extensible feature, you can actually enrich it with your own structures, your own custom structures. But once you've done that, you have this little widget that appears on all your pages, and you can drill into your contents this way and see there is nothing important on that site. And you can access all your contents this way. And you can also access it through this way, which is more like the Apple Finder, but it's the same structure. And each of those branches here, each of the top-level branches, or even each of the, you could even add an extension that adds branches down in the tree. So it's very, very extensible. And I was going to show how to create a recipe a setup recipe so that you can actually create your own selection of your favorite modules and then reuse that as your baseline when you create a new chart site, but I think we're out of time for that. So, and Sipke pretty much showed the same thing, so it's probably not useful to do it. So thank you very much, and if you have other cool modules that I should know about and that you would want other people to know about, let me know. Thank you very much.
Any questions from the audience?
So for the mini profiler, can it also, for example, be used in production to find out which kind of actions your user is doing without actually having to use Google Analytics, so for on-premise use?
I'm not sure I understood that. So
I have a group of internal local network users. So
okay.
I'm not connected to the internet per se, and I want to know how they're using the application, in which way they're navigating, for example. The kind of things Google Analytics does.
Yes.
But then on a smaller scale, orchard photos.
Oh, I see. Yes, actually they are complementary. Google Analytics can give you a lot of information about the perceived performance of your site, how people navigate on your site, and where they fail to navigate on your site, where they actually drop out of the site. Mini Profiler can tell you why. So what I would do is that I would analyze the Google Analytics data that you have. I would focus on the places where your users drop out, and then I would feed those URLs into Mini Profiler and try to analyze, is there a performance reason why people leave that page? Yeah.
Specific question about taxonomies. I'm really happy I found about it because I was trying to fix a solution for relational data. But now I run into the issue that I cannot sort my content items that are related to a taxonomy when I display them from the taxonomy.
You're trying to sort them on what?
On their name, for instance.
And what did you try?
I just output the result or the page from a taxonomy.
Oh. Yeah, maybe replace that with a projection.
But it's dynamic.
Oh, it is.
Or is it fixed maybe in the new version?
Yes, use a projection to display the taxonomy. Yes.
Replace taxonomies by projection. Use a projection to display the
No. What I meant when I said replace that page by.
I don't know what you will understand. That's why I want to.
Okay.
I know you understand.
Maybe it's too specific for it.
No, probably not. So you have the landing page for a term, right? So you have the contents that are classified under that term, and they don't appear in the right order, right? Okay. So you replace that landing page with a projection page, and then you have complete control over how you do things. But it should work, right? You should be able to no.
You can also weight the taxonomy terms.
Yeah.
Content items, and the only way to do that is projection.
They.
It doesn't have that.
It doesn't at all.
It sorts by.
Oh no, it can't know. It can't know. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's
We'll circle back with him and give him a specific solution if we can. Anybody else have questions about hidden gems, modules?
Any modules that you've built that you'd want to let us know about, for example? No?
Any modules that you feel are missing?
What did I miss?
Not you, that are just missing.
No, what did I miss?
You didn't miss anything.
I was wondering how many people are interested in like command line reference stuff, because the one thing we built in the command was like a better help, so you could look for like concrete commands by prefixing, because the help built in is like really limited. I was just wondering if there's anybody out there, like a second person who is interested in that, we could just maybe publish that. And maybe, because I'm thinking of some more support for the command line, because we do a lot of stuff from code or from recipes, and there's just very little support for that. So.
Sebastian has a general cheat sheet for our chart. Does it include the command line? I don't remember. Yes. Yeah, that's a great idea. Which is another way of saying, please do it. Yes. Oh, hold on.
I think it would be great to have a module that code-genned up a bunch of the boilerplate junk when you're making a module. So once the migration's run, to go and make the drivers, make the filters, do a placement.info file, all that kind of boilerplate copy-paste stuff.
There is. Let me try to find it. Piotr. Where is Piotr? I think it's Piotr who made that module, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. Recipe commands? No. Yeah. Code gen, yeah.
Just put code.
I can't type. Code generation extensions. Yeah, that's the one. So try this one.
Just a small addition to that, we also have snippets for that, by the way.
Yes.
Visual Studio snippets. So if you want to write a driver, a migration, or something like that, you just type in ODriver, tab, and you have the template for driver. So that's part of the Orchard Dojo library.
It's on Dojo, right? Yeah.
That's 2 good plugs, which means if
yes,
you want to start building modules and putting them out there, you too can get plugged.
Resources? Dojo library. And I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Dev utilities. Oh yeah, here. And Visual Studio Code snippets. So you go to orcharddojo.net, then resources, Dojo library, development utilities. Could you dig a little deeper and bury it more? I have to tease, you know, it's part of the job. Exactly.
Last question? I guess there's no last question. Thank you very much,
Thank you very
Bertrand.
much.